This is not something that's economically painful for companies.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. 90% of the cases, I won't say 100 because there are some exceptions, but 90% of the cases, we will save the company money by doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is be willing to work with someone like us who will come in and do all the heavy lifting and will often even pay them for something that used to go to the landfill.
Welcome to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks. I'm your host, Brian Wright. This podcast celebrates people in the trucking industry and those who move it forward. Through these authentic conversations, you'll engage in personal stories from the driver's seat, behind the businesses, and around the industries that support trucking. We also aim to reveal tricks of the trade that will help you down the road. This is Mile Marker 50. We explore the sustainability mindset with our guest, Alexander Long, CEO and co-founder of Topia, a plastics recycling business for industrial waste. During our conversation, we discuss how to turn waste into profit, how his business relies on trucking, and how to incentivize your employees to increase loyalty and retention. He sheds light on how to approach your business with an intentional focus to be profitable, to reduce waste, and to leave an enduring legacy.
You're listening to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks.
We are here with Alexander Long. He is the CEO and co-founder of Topia. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you will reintroduce yourself, I guess, share what you do on a daily basis and a little bit about Topia.
All right. I'm Alexander Long. Topia is a post-industrial plastics recycling company. So what that means is that we deal with the industrial side of manufacturing waste. My current role is getting a 216,000 square foot factory going in Burlington, North Carolina. So really very conveniently close to here. It's a major operation of installing some very large machines, working with the city on their needs, working with local manufacturers to figure out how we can support their businesses. Yeah. So my day-to-day is largely as a contractor right now, but in not too long, I hope to be back to where I'm just working on setting up sustainability programs for high-impact solutions.
Your last name is Long, and we had Anna Long here a little bit ago, and her path was about the discovery going into trucking. And she credited you with kind of the nudge in the direction of trucking. So with that, what kind of connected the dots for you that said, hey, this might be a path that she might consider?
Sure. So many things. Anna is somebody who wants to do things people say she can't. And there's that element to it. There's the semi-nomadic element to Anna. She's somebody who wants to be able to get out there and go places. I would not say homebody about her. Yeah. So there's that. And then there's her background in moving things around and just being a functional human. She's not a talker, she's a doer. And like trucking is doing, right? You're moving a bunch of stuff around all at once. I think that Anna is perfectly suited for this job. Not only that, everywhere she goes, she makes a friend. Like when she came in here with you, she said she made friends. Trucking would allow or has allowed her to connect with so many people. So in many ways, I think it's perfect for her, and that's sort of panned out.
Well, she went to college for anthropology, and after 2 years realized that's not what she wanted and went straight to farming. Yeah. Just like you're talking about, it's the hands-on, get things done and do that work.
But isn't it also interesting how she took all that experience, music festivals, farming, homesteading, school bus driving, and how she has related that back to the passion of anthropology. It's sort of the concept that how you can learn the most about the world is being in it, right? She doesn't want to just study it. She wants to be involved and then get all of her learning from that. That's something that I really respect about her.
Let's talk about you. Okay. So when you were growing up, you went to a similar school as she, the Emerson Waldorf School.
Sure. To maybe not go into as much detail as she did because the story is very similar to hers. Yeah. But same thing, art school, Emerson Waldorf, which as I was saying earlier is a concept that they will teach you how to learn rather than what to know. And that served her and myself and the other 5 siblings well. Yeah. And it's something that, primarily my mother has pushed for, coming from a European background, which that's a different education style that they celebrate more there.
Right.
So from Emerson Waldorf, the path between myself and Anna sort of split a little bit. She stayed in the small school dynamic for high school and then also going into university.
Yeah.
And for me, it was going to a large public high school, then going to a very large local university, UNC Chapel Hill. Taking very curvy paths, but in many ways similar and bouncing back into connections with her. So we've both explored how we want to live in the world and what is important to us. And I'd say that every member of our family has been gifted with the opportunity to decide what's important for them and not just have to do what you need to do to get by, but have to do what you have to do because it's part of your soul. For Anna, it's this camaraderie and this what is realness. And for me, it's been sustainability, which I know is a sort of cliche word. But what sustainability means to me is really permanence, right? Like the world is full of these amazing systems that get increasingly complicated and bump into each other and overlap more and more. And if we don't find ways to step back and think, what is this going to look like in 1 year or 100 years or whatever time frame it is that you're capable of working on, it will not work out. These systems just all grow. It's a bunch of petri dishes taking up the same space.
Right.
For me, I've looked into that sustainability throughout my education and then my career in many different ways. I own a small farm. I farm about 120 acres and don't own all of that, but I try to grow hay and trees and veggies sustainability and raise animals with compassion. And then in my work, I was gifted the opportunity to work in a high-impact, sustainable dynamic, which is like behind the scenes, closed door, waste from manufacturing, which is a massive, massive thing.
At what point did you kind of have your path?
I still don't. I still spend every day looking for my path, right? But it gets easier to feel confident in where you are.
Yeah.
I know Anna and myself both use this concept of perfect work in progress, which is really important to me, or like a working philosophy. It might not be perfect, but it's good enough for right now, and it allows me to function very well.
Yeah.
You can look at it in terms of breadth or changes in your life, massive transitions, but you can also look at it in terms of depth, right? You can do the same thing every day and do it in a more conscious, more awake way every day and really have your journey be that style too. So when I say I'm not a finished product, I don't necessarily mean I'm going to become an electrician tomorrow. I might stay here and do this for the rest of my life, but I'm not done exploring what that means.
And it'll evolve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, very good. Because what you know now is going to be knowledge that you can apply in the future.
That's something that our uncle said is nothing you ever learn will go to waste.
How did your path take you to plastics and the recycling side of it?
Very much unintentional. And, I was working for a man at his house, actually working with firewood, and they came out all frazzled because no one had showed up to drive their forklifts that day. And they asked me, do you know how to drive a forklift? And I lied and said yes. And I was in the car for about 30 minutes going to their facility, and I don't even know if I was Googling or what. I was trying to figure out how to learn how to drive a forklift, right, in my 30-minute ride to the plant. And I got there and figured it out pretty quickly, and was loading trucks that day. And then the next day I was backloading trucks, and I did that for quite some time. Along the way, as I was working in this warehousing and distribution facility is really what it was, which was a plastics recycling facility. I started to ask questions about why things happen a certain way. I'm a nosy and opinionated person, just like my sister. And so I would say, why don't you do this different? Like, why don't you hire 2 people and deal with this way, and you'll make this much more money? And I think I asked that question enough times that people started to trust that I was the kind of person that asked those questions. So slowly I got myself into positions where I was making more decisions and learning more and contributing more to the company. One of the things that I became really interested in is employment dynamics, corporate dynamics. What I mean is new ways of managing companies. So like distributed decision making, some Toyota was, a big model of that was very successful. And I've always thought that you can take that even further. And there's a lot of good companies right now taking that further. But what that meant for me is, employee ownership. Yep. I believe that that's the right way to run a company. And what I saw is that in the real world, where you have big companies, big groups doing a lot of things, there are a few people who contribute a lot, and there are a lot of people who don't contribute. No bad to them. It's more of a question of like, how do you inspire the ones who don't feel like they want to contribute? It's not a lack of skill or knowledge. It's like they're working against themselves, right? Yeah. So I learned about the concept of the saboteur, which was back in the early days of the Industrial Revolution in France. The saboteurs were the people who would throw their wooden shoes in the machines because they were so tired of other people's ownership. And that still happens today. Like there's people who really don't care about the organizations that they're working for because they're not inspired to. So anyways, back to me working in this, the small family-owned company and wanting to try to help it transition to employee ownership, but definitely not being ready for that, to lead that. And at that time, the company ended up merging into a larger company that did the same thing. Yeah. So I moved along, but was fully out of the production team at that point, and I was in the account management team.
Gotcha.
So basically what I became is like a sales and purchasing rep, but for sustainability programs. Yeah. So what I do is I will get contacted or contact a large manufacturer. Let's say that they make soda, for instance, and they will have a massive waste stream that has to be dealt with. And I will figure out ways to bring that waste stream, the logistics of bringing that waste stream to the proper production facility or facilities, the mechanical procedure of processing that waste stream, and then turning it back into a reusable product, reusable plastic, and then the end uses for that reusable plastic. And once I've set up that whole program and done the economics behind it, and it makes sense, I will manage the process of that continuing. So you have to continuously deal with the problems, the market shifts, the contaminants, whatever it is, better ways to do things, system improvement. So that became my job. I still wanted to change things into this distributed decision-making, employee ownership, inspire the saboteurs model, right? After 10 years of working at that second company, started to talk to more people in my life who were interested in supporting that. And so as of a year ago, it really became real. Like we started off with this small vision of small investment and getting a little bit of space and some small machines and running programs that I'm very comfortable with running. And it has spiraled way beyond that.
Celebrate Mack trucks with the best merchandise in the industry. Show off your style with Mack trucker hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. There's also a wide variety of coffee cups, drinkware, bags, and toys. We have the new 125th anniversary collection, as well as our popular old school logos for men and women. Mack Shop is offering free shipping on your order of $49 or more by using the discount code SPEND49. You can take advantage of this coupon and others at mackshop.com. Just click on Mack Coupons to learn more. For the people wanting authentic Mack Trucks gear, visit mackshop.com. We are here with Alexander Long. He is the CEO and co-founder of Topia, and we're talking about how he found his way into plastics recycling, sustainability. You were talking about small investments turning into space. Where did it go from there?
From the small investments, it turned into a partnership with an amazing, diverse team of people with all these experiences in equipment and manufacturing and system solutions, whatever it is. And we have built a sizable company that's occupying a 216,000 square foot manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
We were running up to 1.2 million pounds a month of plastic, and our target is 8 million pounds with the equipment that we have right now.
Nice.
So we should be able to have a pretty tremendous impact.
Who do you serve?
So the difference between post-consumer and post-industrial plastics is the answer to that question. Because post-consumer plastics are what you might put in a blue bin or throw into the landfill or whatever it is. It is the plastics that consumers use and touch and then dispose of in any form. Post-industrial plastics are the plastics that are used in making that plastic for you. For every 1 unit of post-consumer plastic, 20 years ago, the estimate was that there were 75 units of post-industrial plastic. So that means that for every soda bottle, and I'm not saying it's specifically in the soda bottle industry, but let's say for every car, there's 75 times as much volume of waste that went into making that car. Since then, that number has been revised, and myself and some others are looking for what the number is now because manufacturing has gotten way more efficient.
Right.
But we're still talking massive multiples to 1, right? For every pen you use, some multiples of that material went to waste.
Gotcha.
And the post-industrial side is the side of the industry that tries to deal with that in metals, in cardboard, in textiles, and in my field, plastics. We are often under non-disclosure contracts.
Sure.
So I am really not allowed to say
That's
who
fine.
we service.
Sure.
But what I will say is every manufacturing process produces scrap. And one of my larger goals would be to celebrate the people who are doing that right.
Yeah.
I mean, Mack makes waste when they build a truck just like everyone else, right?
Yep.
But some companies throw that waste in the landfill. And some companies do their best to either internally or with partner facilities like ours handle that waste as sustainably as possible.
Right.
And we're just on the cusp of where companies are really starting to celebrate their successes in automotive and in other places where they want to do publications showing that we have come up with new ways to recycle bottles or that they have gotten together as an industry and come up with a new toothpaste tube that's actually can be landfill free.
Okay. Yeah.
Those things are happening. So I want our company to be a part of that as well. And we're working with some others who are more on the advocacy and visibility side of the industry to celebrate companies that are being successful.
So we're creating a new opportunity out of something that would just hit a landfill, essentially.
For sure.
And be
Which
able
is
to
a
reuse
cost. Yeah.
and perhaps at a price point where the company sending their waste somewhere might benefit from it in the long run, or there might be a new company that's able to buy this recycled product in a different way, in a different fashion too.
Correct. This is not something that's economically painful for companies.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. 90% of the cases, I won't say 100 because there are some exceptions, but 90% of the cases, we will save the company money by doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is be willing to work with someone like us who will come in and do all the heavy lifting and will often even pay them for something that used to go to the landfill, right? Like it's that simple.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, because we're talking about the sourcing right now, like going to the manufacturer and helping them deal with their problems.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, on the sales side, in most cases, unless you're looking for like very specific, what we call natural post-consumer blow mold HDPE, that's like FDA grade, that sells at a premium to prime resin, like new resin. Unless you're looking for those very specific grades or you're in these big niche industry parts of the industry, we actually sell at a discount to prime.
Yeah.
And not only that, we can do things that make the product more specific to what someone needs, which is also integrated into our recycling process, right? So if you're looking for a very specific sort of plastic that can make, let's say, this cup, we could actually formulate that for you with the additives and colorants or whatever to make the components of this cup at less than the cost of prime. On the other side of the industry, the sales side of the industry, it also makes sense.
In a very convoluted way, driving on track, new tires are faster
Uh-huh.
And there are people that are like, wow, if I'm going to win the race, I need a new set of tires.
Sure.
Well, after a certain number of heat cycles where it gets hot and then cold, they lose their speed.
Yeah.
They're still great tires. So they will actually take those tires because they want to buy a new set to win. But they'll take the used tires and sell them to someone who does track day stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to play around in my car on a track.
For sure.
And you're able to, in a very roundabout way, kind of do that recycling, and they can drive the tire pretty much until it's not usable. And instead of it just going to waste, it's being reused. Now, this is a terrible example as it comes to the sustainability side, but it's the same kind of thing because the person buying that used tire is getting it at a discount and still benefiting without having to buy something new. So the same concept as to what you're doing, right?
It's actually better than what I'm doing. Because what you're talking about, there's this whole spectrum, and I'm going to get it wrong, but reduce, reuse, recycle. There's like 7 different things, but reuse, right? It's more impactful than recycling because again, when we recycle something that has been made, there was a multiple of that product that was wasted along the way.
Yeah. When
you reuse something, if you keep an old truck running rather than buying a new truck, and I'm not saying don't buy a new truck, but also keep the old truck running, right? You're doing something that has way more impact. The ripples go way beyond your life. As we bring this concept of externalities, this idea of sustainability into the light, as we start celebrating people who are doing things the right way, and we lean on storytelling, which is what you're doing here and what humans are starting to engage in more and more on a personal level through their phones or YouTube or whatever. As we do that and as we harness like conscious intent, we start to make a difference because people want those positive stories.
Yeah.
This Week in History.
Beginning in April 1992, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration required drivers to have a commercial driver's license to drive commercial motor vehicles with a gross vehicle weight over 26,001 pounds. Each state would have the authority to test and issue CDLs to drivers only after the driver passes knowledge and skills tests related to the type of vehicle the driver expects to operate. In 2025, with growing concern over crashes involving commercial motor vehicles, FMCSA amended federal regulations limiting the issuance of non-domiciled commercial learners permits and licenses. The FMCSA deemed that non-domiciled drivers, especially those who may have prior violations, suspensions, or a history of crashes in foreign jurisdictions, pose a serious risk. Second, FMCSA has removed over 7,000 schools from the registry who are not upholding federal safety standards. In addition, over 1,400 on-site investigations were conducted, resulting in 550 notices of proposed removal from the registry. The hope is that these changes will result in fewer crashes and safer roads.
This has been This Week in History.
We are here with Alexander Long, CEO and co-founder of Topia, plastics recycling, really creating solutions to not send waste to the landfill, but create opportunities to reuse that for the common good. Let's talk about the trucking side of things, because as you bring in product or waste and create product out of it, things have to move in and go out. What's that like for your business?
I've worked for 3 companies, including this one, my own, now in this field. And the previous 2 companies had a small trucking fleet of their own. We hope to get there with our company as well. But I'm definitely already considering what is the best way to do that. How our model works is a lot of drop trailers, a lot of swaps, because we're sourcing from our vendor side, locally from manufacturing facilities where we might be bringing in lightweight loads, always full truckload. Like we're working with 53 footers unless it's export containers. We're bringing in, loads of loose or compacted plastic parts that might weigh 5 to 20,000 pounds. We're processing that material and sending it out at a full weight. So 40,000 plus net pounds. And for us, the biggest cost in our industry is trucking. Because if you think about, we're a pennies per pound business. And if you think about the pennies per pound cost of like bringing a truckload of this into our facility, it's massive. It's potentially more than the value of a plastic. So that's what limits our region. is the cost of trucking, bringing something in.
Interesting.
And also when you get into the complexities of each individual program, like are there packages that have to be returned? Do you have to swap a trailer? Like, is this a round trip? Does that company need pallets? Those sorts of things affect our working range. Once that is in our building, once our logistics team has coordinated the material coming in, we then reprocess that material, and on the outbounds it can have a much larger run, right? Whereas we might only be able to afford to bring a part in from like a 1-state radius when we're buying it. When we're sending it back out, it could very easily go across the country or across the world.
Okay.
That happens every day. And if you think about us doing 1.5 million pounds a month, and really the intention of doing 8 million pounds a month, and our average inbound load weight is 10,000 pounds a load, it's a lot of trucks.
Yeah.
Whole lot of trucks. So then the question becomes, what's the most effective way for still a small carrier, a small user of freight compared to the distribution centers in this area?
Yeah.
What's the best way for us to do it? I'm not sure that ownership of the assets is the best way. Like leasing, there's better and better leasing programs out there.
Yeah.
And there's also, better and better freight contract companies where you can set up like a relationship, a mutually beneficial relationship with a company that manages all of that for you.
Right.
So at this point in our evolution, that's kind of where we're at. We have a number of local partners who we send, dispatches and freight confirmations to, tell them what we need, and they provide that service for us.
Right. So how many loads per day are you receiving and delivering?
We're having to do some work on the facility and upgrade some machines right now. So right now we're pressing the pause button for a couple weeks, but we were doing maybe 15.
So quite a bit.
Yeah.
So are you coordinating with that company and saying, hey, look, we need in and out, and they just manage that side of it?
We are not in a position where we have one partner that we work with.
Gotcha.
We work with a limited group of partners who understand what we need.
Yeah.
These are freight brokerage companies or local carriers.
Yeah.
And the freight brokerage companies primarily we work with for the outbounds or the long distance shipments, line hauls, and the local carriers we're primarily working our swap programs with.
Yep.
Or drop trailer swap programs, those sorts of things. Over time, I would like to narrow that down for simplicity's sake. I would love to have a partner company that for the fair and best rates continues to manage things effectively, but right now we still quote stuff out.
Yep.
So we will send out a bid to maybe 3 different dispatchers, freight brokers, and they will get back to us with their number, and that's what we go with. And trucking is such a high cost for our industry because you can think of us as a sophisticated gravel company, right? Like we make big shit small, and then we ship that stuff around for a price per pound, which is in the pennies.
Yeah.
So like if I were to grind this up, which this is probably HDPE plastic, if I were to grind this up, and if I were to sell that as a clean product for remanufacturing, this might right now be worth about 26 cents a pound. And it's a pretty light cup, right? So it limits what you can do freight-wise.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about leasing trucks, it becomes a fixed cost, right? Something you can manage in your budget. You kind of know what it is. The maintenance is taken care of, and perhaps there you go.
Yeah.
Brokerage, it will somewhat follow the market. I'm sure there will be contracts related, but also things that you can manage too. When you're working with a broker, how quickly does that transaction happen? Is it, hey, we need someone to pick up this trailer and they're here in a minute? Or is it a day or a week or a month?
Oh, yeah. No, typically a day.
Yeah.
Like same day, next day.
Okay, great.
So, and just to play off of what you were just saying before as well, there's the cost element to this, but there's also the just-in-time service element to this. Like, manufacturing has gotten so precise. They need this exact box at this exact hour for this exact process.
Yeah.
And they also, on the opposite side, need this out of their room before the fire marshal shows up tomorrow at 9 a.m. You know,
Right.
so we have to respond very quickly. We have to be incredibly flexible, and we have to be able to deal with surges, because this is something that frustrates me with like municipalities and regulators and all that stuff. Is they say, well, that facility looks so good. Why is this facility a mess? I'm like, that's because this facility is supporting that facility, and the mess that would be there is here.
Yeah.
Right. So like when you're a service provider to industry, trucking companies know, right? They all have giant yards because like someone ordered all those computers and then said, wait, actually not till next month.
Yeah.
And they've filled up a 1 million square foot building full of computers that they're waiting for next month for. We experience that as well.
Yeah.
So for us to evolve our own fleet, it is actually less of a cost thing and more of a service thing.
Yep.
In terms of service, that's what narrows down our partners the most, is like we have massive space constrictions and we have also windows for deliveries and that sort of stuff. Everyone's dealing with efficient manufacturing. So we need to work with people who will not get us. They will not miss a pickup. They will not miss a delivery. Or if they do, because it always happens in trucking, right? They let us know quickly, and we can make the best possible decision.
Communication's critical when it comes to that.
But that was something that blew my mind as an outsider stepping into this, is like a truck is a massive thing that's a lot of logistics and parts, and you've got a driver and experience. All this, you know, it's a real complex process in and of itself. And it amazed me that how good the domestic trucking industry is, that I can make one phone call or send one text or email, and tomorrow there's 20 trucks there to take stuff to 20 different destinations. Like, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You know, isn't it fascinating that we're that good at logistics now, that we can get anything anywhere basically anytime?
It's like the biggest puzzle in the world. We take for granted the click on a website, and it's here tomorrow or the next day. But the swarm of things that occurs in the background day to day, where you can get something from across the country here in just a short period of time, it's mind-boggling.
Or for me, when I'm like, I see, you know, we'll order a part for a machine or something. It comes from California or Texas, and it gets here for like $200. You know, like that's very cool.
You're talking about the just-in-time, being efficient, working with your customers. That means you're holding a lot of inventory, doesn't it? Because
Often,
you have to keep it there and have it readily available for when they say, let's go, and manage that side of things. So you have to have quite a bit of space in order to keep that stuff in supply.
Yeah.
So that they could be just in time.
For sure. And I also need to put in here that, like, you know, we work more and more with partners who support us and understand our space constraints as well.
Yeah.
Because everyone has the same problem. Like, and this is not a problem that goes away in logistics or manufacturing or anything, right? It's always this balancing act of enough pickups, too many pickups, whatever, you know, that is a constant thing that we will have to deal with. For us, if we have abusive partnerships, we will find ways to replace those, just like they would with us. If they can't honor a delivery time on a PO, then, you know, we'll start looking for people who will. And that's just out of necessity. Like, if you gave me a 10 million square foot building, I would fill it up with plastic scrap. If you gave me a 10,000 square foot building, I would do the same thing. So, and in each case, like, we're going to need our pickups and we're going to need our deliveries.
I don't know how much this would apply for what you do, but today there's a huge thing about cargo theft. It might be something that's more appropriate, a conversation for brokers and stuff like that. But, you know, it's like, well, how are they taking this stuff? Some in the basic element are just hooking up to a trailer and driving off with whatever it might be, computers or phones or whatever. But then there are some who are showing up with paperwork that looks legit, loading up to the dock, it's loaded, and they go away, and they're not the carrier that you were intending. Does this happen in your industry? You know, what kind of things do you think about when this is a reality anymore?
In a roundabout way, yes, it does happen, but not directly. In our industry, like if you stole one of my truckloads, you would have a really hard time trying to figure out where to sell it. You'd probably call me and be like, can you help me with this problem I have?
A new avenue for you.
Right? Yeah. I'd be like, all right.
Scam the scammer.
That's right. If you stole one of my truckloads, you would end up with some stuff that's worth pennies per pound, and needs work.
Yeah.
But the ways that we do interact with this are brand security. Like, again, we have to do everything we can to make sure that the brands that we service are taken care of.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to let anyone take your deodorant and resell it. I'm going to destroy it. So the fear for us would be more so on the front end that someone takes something that is not intended for resale. So we have different partners that handle that in different ways. Like some of them will send inspectors on site. Some of them just use sealed trucks. There's always destruction reports, recycling reports, things that we can acknowledge that something happened the way it was intended to happen.
Right.
I can say that we have never had this happen. Like we've never had somebody take a truckload of someone's stuff. We have locked, storage areas and all of that. But in other parts of our industry, primarily metals, like this definitely does happen. If you have a load of copper that you're shipping out, say $40,000, $50,000 of copper, which right now is over $5 a pound, you're talking big money. And there are a lot more steps that those companies have to take to insure their trucks,
right.
And to lock their trucks, and then also to track their trucks.
Yeah.
So you may contract with a trucking company that has its own tracking, and you can check it out and be like, yeah, my copper is actually going where I want it to go. But you will probably also spend the $20 to put your own tracker inside that load, just in case.
Yep, that makes sense. As it relates to sustainability, let's kind of look at some of the trucking industry. And, with your perspective on that, what are some things that, let's say an owner-operator, let's say has fewer than 5 trucks, they're doing the business, they're making the hauls, they're coordinating, the shipments, whether with brokers or direct. What are some things that come to mind for you that might help the trucking industry?
I've been thinking a lot about this question because, again, I'm not a trucking expert, but I do believe I'm a sustainability expert. So sometimes when you have a really complex problem, which is that it takes a lot of power to move something somewhere else, you can't deal with that straight on. Trucking is already a very efficient way to move things, right? Like you're better off moving 20,000 pounds of something in one truck, even 4 miles per gallon, than to 20,000 people driving it around in their car. From that perspective, like we need to be aware that there is a lot of energy use. There's a lot of carbon tied up in it. There's a lot of, parts and materials and trucks, but it's already efficient from that perspective. Things that I would look at are the culture around trucking, like the disposable nature around trucking, disposable cups, bottles, disposable food packaging, like those sorts of things. If you really care about sustainability, just realize everything you do has a ripple effect, and it can have a negative or a positive ripple effect, right? So reusable packaging from your own consumption, or properly recycling something has an impact beyond what you see. It wasn't just one cookie clamshell. It was like that cookie clamshell became another cookie clamshell that kept 75 cookie clamshells from being made. So that's one thing. And then also from the packaging inside the truck perspective, which owner-operators, if they were working with a company like us, they could help us develop programs that eliminated single-use packaging. We can use returnable containers, and we can do the math from a carbon or a cost or both perspective to figure out if it makes sense to do that. And often it does. So, this is something that Nina Butler with Stina gave me for this conversation, specifically when I was asking her about reusable transport. And it's just some statistics on what kind of savings from a carbon and cost perspective people got by switching over to sustainable packaging. So for instance, in like food transport, right? 76% less solid waste, 62% less CO2, 80% less water, 50% less food waste, 64% less energy. And that is for just reusing packaging in the food industry. It is a larger upfront investment sometimes. Sometimes it isn't, but it can be a larger upfront investment, and it can have a massive impact. So that would be another way that from like what you're carrying around and the conversations that you can have. And if you can talk me into sending a truck both ways instead of just one way, it's double the freight for you.
Exactly right.
So, that's good too. Like
no one likes to
there's
do
win-wins
the deadhead
here.
stuff.
I also, not an expert on this, but I do believe in electrification. I believe in the eventual simplicity of electric motors versus an engine, which is what produces its own power versus just uses power. I also believe in like the processes for making electricity getting simpler and more cost effective.
Right.
So I do think that in many cases, especially swaps and short hauls, like it's the way it's going to go soon. With what we're experiencing right now with our fuel prices, our costs for shipping, like there's a fuel 15-20% fuel surcharge on everything we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And that's a killer for us. That's way more than our margins, right?
Yep.
So, if someone comes to me and they're like, we have electric trucks and we're never going to charge you a fuel surcharge, like they're probably going to get the business.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we'd mentioned earlier in terms of sustainability in trucking, repairing things.
Yeah.
Is a really big deal. And some of these trucks last a really long time, which is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon to have a 1,000,000-mile truck.
Yeah.
And they want uptime. And so how do you get uptime? You're preventative with your maintenance. So you're not waiting for it to break, which inherently is bad when it comes down to everything with sustainability costs, because now the delivery is not getting there on time, ripple effect. But maintaining trucks ahead of time, tires, brakes, fluids, and things like that can really help your efficiency, make the trucks run better. But that might create some waste. Perhaps there will be opportunities for recycling in that too.
Can I throw in a really crazy one here?
Of course you can.
Okay. So also consider employee ownership in part or in whole, because the concept of the saboteur applies to trucking as well.
Yes, it does.
And if you had, let's say you're a small owner operator and you got 5 guys out there driving, and those guys believe in the company and they believe that they, in part or in whole, own the company, they're going to take good care of their trucks. It doesn't have to be employee ownership. It has to be about empowerment. It has to be about recognizing that people have needs beyond their paychecks.
Yep.
And if you can be aware of those needs, they will give back to you more and more.
Alexander, this has been fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Okay, I just have one thing which is such a big part of what Anna cares about, and it was the only part that I was like, oh man, I'm sorry she missed that in her visit with you, was talking about health in trucking. Anna is amazing in so many ways, but among others, that she will work this intense physical job, but then also take so good care of herself physically and mentally. Eating right, exercising, stretching, yoga, jogging, like whatever it is that people can find time to do. Yeah. Anna does that, and it helps her from a mental, physical, relationship aspect. It's one of those things that is going to keep these people in this industry for longer, because there's a lot of bad health.
And it's not just physical, it's mental too.
Huge.
If you are driving, especially long haul for weeks at a time, the isolation may not be healthy for you.
Yeah.
So you have to have that support structure, the calls, meeting up with people. Perhaps you've got a great network of truckers that you can meet at particular stops, have a dinner with a friend, and then continue on. But that mental health piece can go downhill quickly if you get isolated in that space.
Yeah.
So physical, of course, diet, mental as well.
Yeah, watch out for the negative media. That like if you spend all day on the road and you're just listening to doom and gloom stuff, and then you get at night and you're watching doom and gloom stuff, like it will break you. And so Anna has been very aware of that and has intentionally worked to change that in her life. And I hope that other people will as well.
Podcasts can uplift you.
For sure. Yeah, this is what you need.
Shameless plug.
No,
but
not
to be
shameless.
realistic, listen to stories. Audiobooks are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Podcasts are inspirational, and you can gain a lot from that. It's kind of the difference. The media can be just like social media. You can go doom scroll, and what do you get at the end of that 30 minutes, just other than confusion? But if you're playing a game that's engaging, or you're reading a book, or whatever it is, you can utilize that time and benefit from it instead of just kind of waste time away.
Again, we're all so stressed. We're all so overworked, and we all need that little bit of relief. But if we put in a little bit of effort to make that relief something that grows and grows positively, it will benefit us in the long run. Like, we'll be more capable, we'll be more energetic, we'll be healthier, we'll be happier, and we'll have more friends, all of that.
Thank you very much for adding that. Critical for our industry, and I appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Bulldog with Alexander Long, CEO and co-founder of Topia. We hope that you were able to learn about an industry that relies on trucking and how they foster employee empowerment to benefit their business. Your feedback is important to us so we can produce the episodes that you want to hear. So let us know what you think about this week's podcast and some ideas to make it better. As always, we're in search of new guests who have great experiences, good stories, and represent the backbone of our trucking industry. As always, we're in search of new guests who have great experiences, good stories, and represent the backbone of our trucking industry. If you have something to share or have a friend that does, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave your suggestions in the comments section below.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure to follow the Bulldog.